The rainy season is upon us once again, dorks. At least it is in my neck of the woods. I know a lot of people are always disappointed at the end of summer, when the sun retreats behind the gray veil of an overcast sky, the wind starts whipping little spatterings of rain against the windows. But I love it. I am, as they say, here for it. We're at the end of the season of activity, and are entering the season of hibernation. The season of togetherness, the season of warmth within despite the cold without. One of my favorite feelings in all the world is sitting in an empty house, listening to the rain outside, with no concerns other than running out of tea or books, both of which are impossible. This is the season of chill, after all. The chill of the air, the chill of our minds, but also, it must be said, the chill of our spines. The season of warm teas and long sleeves, dark nights and spooky frights, festive feasts and nightmare beasts. It's raining right now. I don't know if you can hear it, but I can. It's distant and subtle, but still it fills me with an unshakable calm. I want nothing more than to crawl into bed and hide under the covers, even though it's the middle of the day and I still have a lot of work to do. You know that feeling too, right? Even if you don't like the fall, you cannot deny the calming nature of a good rainstorm. I've heard it said that this is an evolutionary response, that our distant ancestors knew the rain to be a sign of safety. There are no predators out in the rain, after all. And any work you have to do outside is just going to have to wait. Nothing to do now but shelter in place, keep warm, and let the storm pass. Right? I can't actually claim this is true. I don't have any sources. But it feels true, so who am I to argue? However, I have recently learned that there is at least one exception to the rule. That rule about there being no predators in the rain. There may be others, but I'm thinking of one in particular. One that hunts exclusively in the rain. One that will wait, patiently, all throughout the dry summer months, for that first good rainstorm in autumn. I am thinking, of course, of the rainstalkers. Aptly named, they hunt in the rain. They sleep through the heat, but leave their refuge to join the deluge. Of course, they are dangerous for all the usual reasons. They are strong and fast and sneaky and hungry. But what's more, they are patient and wise and sharp. After all, it takes a special kind to want to go out into the rain. The rainstalker is at home in the downpour. All the reasons we stay in are also the reasons they go out. The sound masks their movement through the trees. The dark skies provide an abundance of shadow. The brilliance of the rainstalker is mostly one of perspective. The rest of the animal kingdom sees the rainstorm as a time for conserving energy and finding shelter. A time for nothing to happen. A time spent waiting for a different time. But the rainstalker can see something that we are generally blind to. As the rainstorm begins, many animals find themselves in the position of needing to find shelter. For some, this is simple. They return to their burrow or their nest. For others without more permanent residences, they must seek out the nearest cover. And when they arrive, they are compelled by some ancient genetic imperative to stay put and wait it out. This is when the rainstalker is driven to action. They do not see the storm as a time when things stand still. They see frantic, worried searching in the underbrush. They see shapes slithering and skittering away from the rising water at the river's edge. They see birds taking the shortest route back to their homes. Where we see calm, the rainstalker sees change. Where we see tranquility, the rainstalker sees opportunity. And the rainstalker is not one to let an opportunity pass by unpursued. They watch from the tallest trees, their eyes tracking any movement, as all the little prey items below trace paths back to safety. And then, only once the initial period of activity has passed, they prowl. They follow fresh tracks in the mud. They climb trees where they saw birds land. They move slowly and patiently. Despite the cover of the rain, despite the lowered guard of their prey, they know they have time. They know their meal isn't going anywhere. Are they just really good trackers? Are they just exceptionally suited to this very specific task? Or is there something more? Can they hear the raccoons in their burrows, their hearts slowing and their breath evening? Can they hear the snakes coiling against themselves and then cease moving altogether? Do eyelids make a sound when closed in relaxation, drifting into an unworried snooze? Maybe. Maybe it could be explained as something mundane like incredible hearing or perfect memory. Maybe they just know. Maybe they have some other sense. Maybe they can feel the sluggishness. Maybe they can smell the serotonin. Maybe they can taste the sensation of a litter of squirrels settling into a pile of fur and warmth. I cannot say, but the result is the same. The rainstalker will find the entrance to a burrow and know what is slumbering inside. It will reach down with long, snaking arms, and slender, bony fingers, and sharp, pointed claws. It will navigate the underground mazes, patiently pushing deeper and deeper, until they are finally able to slowly curl their horrible fingers around the tiny neck of a sleeping mole, and then their arm shoots back in an instant like a loose tape measure. And then the predictable happens. The rainstalker retreats, meal in hand, back to their perch high up in the trees. There they will feed, messily and hungrily, the need for surreptition temporarily past. The sound of rodent blood pouring to the forest floor, disguised and intermingling with the rain. When the storm is past, there will be no evidence left. Even as the rainstalker descends, again, to seek out as many meals as it can before the end of the storm, there will be no trace of their activity, aside from a few empty burrows. You're probably wondering what these things look like. I wish I could tell you, but I've never seen one. Their sightings are understandably rare, but they've been described to me as fearsome bipedal creatures, a bit smaller than a person, but not so much that you should feel comforted. They're gaunt and slender, and have too many joints in their arms and fingers. Their skin is mottled gray to fit in with the trunks and branches of their hiding places. But most of all, they are green. They're covered in what look like branches and leaves. Whether by natural growth or constructed camouflage, who can say? Ultimately, what gives them their unique appearance is a specific tree in which they reside. The magnificent western red cedar. They're somewhat unique to the Pacific Northwest, though like most of us, they have relatives in other parts of the country. These are massive, ancient trees. They are less common today than they were thousands of years ago, but those that remain tower over everything below. In a land of big trees, these are big trees. I also just adore the way they look. Aside from just being good old-fashioned big trees, their branches take these long swooping arcs, drooping down and curving back up, and then from these branches hang the smaller withes in their needles, all hanging limply in giant sheets of lush greenery. They look like giant melting candles. They look like if a tree were a rainstorm frozen mid-downpour. And the rainstalker looks like the tree. Clumps of verdant needles draping from their shoulders and arms, dark crooked fingers hiding among sprays of foliage, water dripping from pointed claws and tiny leaves. Chances are there's no need for you to be worried. As far as I can tell, they only live in the Pacific Northwest, so statistically speaking, most of you aren't anywhere near their domain. And even if you are in the area, they only hunt in the rain. It's not always raining here, despite what you might hear. But if you do live here, or are visiting here, and it is raining, well, you're probably still fine. They mostly eat rodents and birds, really. I've heard that they might take down a small deer if they're feeling ambitious. But I've also heard it said that their domain is shrinking. These trees used to dominate a much larger range, but most of the old growth has been plundered and destroyed. Perhaps the hunting grounds of the rainstalkers have shrunk alongside them. Perhaps our homes have been invading their territory. Perhaps they react to our presence and proximity in the same way as bears and cougars. Perhaps they are adapting. Perhaps they have followed the raccoons and the rabbits into our developed world. Perhaps they recognize your car when it passes and know when you're inside your burrow. Perhaps they can smell chamomile tea from a mile away. Perhaps they can hear that last sigh of contentment as you finish a book. Perhaps, as you drift off into half-sleep on the couch, you will provide a very tempting opportunity